going to be, and I've got some good news for you too. You're in the right place at the right time. Today is going to be absolutely perfect for you. And by the way, Happy New Year! Happy New Year! How many of you believe that 2011 is going to be the best one you've ever had ever? That's a good choice. I do too. And it isn't going to happen accidentally. It isn't going to happen just because you're going to think positive. It's going to happen because you're going to have a plan. You're going to have a strategy. You're going to have a way to make it happen. You know what you're going to do. You know where you're going. And that's what we want to outline. I'm going to tell you something. You couldn't be, when I say that you're in the right place at the right time, let me just say this. There isn't any better profession in the world to be in than in chiropractic. And I will say too, I am so grateful and so thankful that chiropractic gets to be a part of my life and that I get to be a part of it. I love this profession. I love chiropractic. Now, understand this. I don't like it. I what?
Love it.
I love it. I love it. I'll tell you this. Chiropractic has been very good to me. And I owe a lot to chiropractic. I owe a lot to the profession. And I feel a deep obligation to defend it, uphold it, promote it, grow it, because it deserves it. And I'm not going to stand by and watch anything else. I'm not going to let anybody diminish it, not anybody to put it down. In fact, the truth of the matter is, we're going to make sure that chiropractic becomes the #1 healthcare provider in America. Now, see, I'm getting a little bit bothered. I'm starting to get bothered. Because I'm going to tell you this. I got a feeling I could say Chicago Bears or Green Bay Packers and I'd get more applause. Yes, oh, Packers. Oh, I mean, rats, you'd put cheese on your head. For a football team. There it is. Look at that. And yet I say chiropractic and it's... There you go. I believe you. I believe you. So you guys, if you're gonna, I realize that tomorrow's kind of a big day, but today's a bigger one. And if you've ever been excited, you ought to be excited about chiropractic, right? That's more like it, Bucko. That is more like it. Here's the deal. The last couple years have actually produced a lot of tangents in chiropractic, and it's produced a lot of poverty too. There's been a lot of decline in the profession. I'm very blessed and fortunate to say that not within integrity, but within the profession, it has experienced that. And as I watch it and I see what's going on, and I've been doing this for 25 years, so you can't smoke me. I know everything that there is going on, and here's the deal. I've been watching it, and I've been quiet, and I've been nice, because the integrity doctors are doing well, and so I can be quiet and nice. But I'm not going to be quiet, and I'm not going to be nice, and I'm not going to be politically correct any longer. I'm just about ready to throw up on political correctness. It's time for somebody to be honest. It's time for somebody to stand up and say what the truth is, and not give a stinking rip what anybody else thinks. I'm not running for office, so it really doesn't matter. Truth is, we can't handle political correctness in the profession any longer. So here's the truth. Healing the body is your business. And you're the most amazing at it in the country, because you are the only ones who can heal the body naturally with your hands. You're the only one in the country that can walk into any given room, including this one, and someone can come in sick and you can get them well. And you don't need anything, just you. Just your hands. All you got to do is say, well, where's a bench? It's amazing. You're the only ones who can do it, and you know how to get the body well. Well, let me just tell you this. As amazed as I am at what you're able to do, understand this. Just as you're able to get the body well, we are able to get your business well. And we know how to do it. Know when to listen and know when to talk. When it comes to getting the body well, you talk. When it comes to get the business well, you listen. Pay attention. I've got one person in mind, and that's you. I want your magnificent art to be promoted and to become #1. And if you will listen and pay attention, it's going to happen. But there are some things, and there are some tangents, And there's some stuff that's been going on that has to stop, and it has to stop now. And if it weren't true, I just wouldn't say it. It's easier to not say it. But the deal is, there's some things that we've got to do, and there's some things that we've got to stop. First thing we got to stop, everybody, we got to stop just getting by. We have developed a really pitiful poverty complex among the profession, so that everybody's goal pretty much has been to just get by, to get through this time. It is time that chiropractic as a profession comes out of the cave. We've talked about the economy and gloom and poverty. All we can stand it. You know what? I know that you guys can relate to this. You know what we're very much like? How many of you got kids? How many parents have we got in here? You got kids? How much do your kids love snow days? Oh, you wake up, the only time in their life they wake up early to turn on the TVs to find out if school's been canceled. Oh, good. Snow days. They love those snow days because it means they can just sit around in the house and do nothing, or they can go play in the snow because it's a snow day, and they love snow days because they don't have to really go to work. Well, you know what has happened? We've just moved into permanent snow days. The profession has declared the economy and so on a huge snow day. And so now everybody's just gone into the house and stayed there waiting for a time when there isn't any more snow. And the school basically with your kids has to make them go back to work. The problem is with the rest of the country is that there is no school board to make them go back to work. And so they just stay in the house bawling and squalling and griping and complaining. The truth is, the chiropractors have been using the economy as long as they can for snow days, and it's over. And believe me, man, these are voices that are continually in your ears. They're continually talking about this and doing this stuff. I know, it's everywhere. I had a chiropractic journal call me just the other day, and they were doing this article, and so I'm supposed to be one of the contributing people, and so they're calling me. So here was their question. They said, well, now, Keith, you have all these doctors all across the country. I want to ask you, what can we tell our readers that can help them get by in these economic times? I'm telling you, this is, I said, well, we're doing great. I don't really know what you're talking about. The integrity doctors are doing well, and I'll tell you, here's how we're doing it. We're not only doing great, we're not only growing, but we're growing with chiropractic, and the real key is chiropractic. Chiropractic works, chiropractic does it, and we're doing super good, and if we would just promote chiropractic, if we would grow chiropractic, if we would be proud of chiropractic. Guess what? I gave them all this stuff, and my part hadn't come out in the magazine yet. Imagine that, everybody. He was really disappointed. It wasn't what he wanted to hear. He wanted me to say, oh boy, you're right. It's hard. We can't. We just need to stay at home and cuddle. It's time to get the vision back. Go back to work. It's time to start shooting for the moon. All in favor say aye. Aye. Don't feel sorry for you. Don't feel sorry for me. What a great opportunity. What a great land. And there isn't any better place to be than in chiropractic. Well, you say, but wait. There's 10% unemployment. You're right. And I'm sorry. And I'm sick for every person that is unemployed. And I don't say that it isn't real. It is real. There are 10% unemployed. But I'll tell you what it also means. There's 90% that are employed. 90% of the population is working. That's enough for you to have a good practice. 90% employed is enough for you to get up and go. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Well, Keith, but the truth is, there's all these foreclosures. You're right, there are. And I hate it. I've seen some around me too. But when you add up the foreclosures, it's 3% of the mortgages in America. That means that there's 97% of the homes that aren't in foreclosure. And you know what that means? That's enough. That's enough for you to get out of the cave. That's enough for you to get out of work. That's enough to declare snow days over. There's 97% that are there. We need to get going. We need to go to work. Chiropractors have been frozen in fear long enough, doing nothing, blaming everything, running off on tangents. And it's got to stop. Now, the truth is, the integrity doctors are exploding and doing absolutely awesome. We just came back from Vegas there in December. Wowee, there was 100 of us in the room. And do you know what? The majority of those doctors in that room were all collecting over $100,000 a month. Shoot, there were 5 offices in there that were collecting over $2 million for the year. Now you're looking at me kind of halo-headed. Is $2 million good? $2 million is pretty good. Danielle, stand up. She loves it. She's so proud. She says, thank you, Keith, for doing this. Because I wouldn't put you on the spot for anything, nor would I embarrass you, mostly. You and your husband both practice, and you have your own practices, right? And you had, quote, the satellite. And when you started with us in that satellite clinic, how much were you doing? How much were you collecting your debt services, whatever you
My nets were about $8,000.
$8,000 a month. All right. So now you just finished 2010. How are you doing now?
The nets are pretty good.
Like?
Well, like we did over 122 in August.
My word, you guys. 122, 8,000 to 122,000. Do you notice a slight increase? I'm kind of hoping that, I realize that math isn't everybody's strong point, but let me just help you with it. That's good. Matter of fact, that was done in 2010. No, you can't do it in these economic times. Somebody throw up. The truth of the matter is, and why do I point it out? Why do I embarrass Danielle and make her embarrassed? Why? Because I want you to know something. There's no excuses. Get up. Stop saying it can't be done. It can. The room is full of them. Chiropractic is in the perfect position and the perfect place. You don't have any excuses. The truth of the matter is, it can be done. Stop getting by. All in favor say aye. Aye. It's time to paint the dream again. We need to get some new paint out there. It's time to stop getting by. And by the way, just to even help you with this little premise a little bit, I don't know, man. I live in Florida, as you know. I'm kind of hacked off that everybody's saying that nobody has anything, but I'm still standing in 45-minute lines. How come everybody's at Disney if they can't? As a matter of fact, Shelley, I guess I just heard Shelley say they went to Universal instead of Disney. They went to Universal last month. They have a new ride there. What is it? Harry Potter. You know how long they stood in line for that ride? 4.5 hours. Because the country's full of broke people. What a bunch of stinking liars. Our poverty level is, all of our family has cell phones, they just don't all have unlimited texting yet. We're a country full of unlimited texting, cell phones everywhere, 250 channels on TV, and we're griping. Shut up. Stop getting by and start believing that the dream can happen. Do you? We got to get it out. We got to stop messing around with this stuff. Stop talking broke. Talk success or shut up. Why? Because we eat the fruit of our words. That's why. Stop thinking broke. Stop thinking that patients won't pay, won't stay, and won't refer. They will too. They just came back from Universal. It's true. Stop believing for broke like kids praying for more snow days. You know why? You know why so many people want to keep holding this up and keep believing for bad times? Because then they have an excuse to sit there on their tail and do nothing. That's why. They want to stay in. They want snow days because they're lazy. But if you have a dream, you can't wait but get up and get out. And there's plenty there to win. Stop waiting for an auto success economy. There's no such thing. You'll come out as soon as everybody's automatically successful. You don't need entitlement. You need a place where you can, on your own, make the dream happen. It's there, and it's for you, and it can be done. Students, we got quite a few students here, as a matter of fact. Students, raise your hands, students. Whoa, awesome. Oh, that's good, isn't it? Yeah. Now, this certainly doesn't, I want to tell you something, and I want you to get it, and I want you to trust me. I wouldn't tell you if it wasn't true. You listen to me now. Students, I know that although this isn't all college professors, you have a bunch that will try to convince you that, particularly our chiropractic grads, they come out thinking that you can't make it in practice these days. Well, you better not go out on your own, because, oh, wow, it's tough. No, you can't really do it. No, you better do this and that. I'm just going to tell you this. Yeah, you can. We open over 200 practices a year. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. How many people do you know that opens 200 practices a year? How many college professors open 200 practices a year? Maybe you should listen to us. I think we're winning. I think we open more, do more, know more. Learn to listen to the people who know. We open 200 and we see the fabulous success. As a matter of fact, if you were going back to that room in Las Vegas with our top flighters, if you were there, let me just help you know something. 90% of our doctors there were under 40. Half of them were under 30. Hacks me off. Young squirts. Doing hugely successful. 20-some-odd-year-olds doing great, weren't they, Nathan?
That's right. That's right.
How old are you, Nathan?
39.
You're 39. He was one of the under 40s. Bah! Tall, skinny, and young. How disgusting is that? And top flight. So you know why you want to ask me, students? Because we're the ones who know. There's lots of greatness out there. Lots of success, and you don't even have to be old to have it. Be careful who you listen to. Surely the people who say it's bad out there aren't people that say that because they did bad. You think? Doctor, let me tell you, moving on from students to doctor, don't let associations pull you down either. Truth of the matter is, rats. There's lots of good out there. You have to wear, and I do the same thing too. You go to these classes, and by the time you attend their Medicare classes and their coding classes and their malpractice classes, man, you can hardly wait, go crawl back in bed. You're scared to death. You know you're going to be arrested any minute now, and that the whole world's coming down on you. Shoot. As a matter of fact, I had, and all this is called continuing education. I had a state association call me just recently, and they wanted me to come teach some CE classes, but here was the rule. They said, you can teach the CE classes, but you can't talk about practice growth. I can scare you into getting arrested, but I can't talk about practice growth. So then, they said, well, send us the notes. Send us what you're going to talk about. I still haven't sent any. I can't think of anything. Because if I can't talk about growth and promoting chiropractic and growing chiropractic and making chiropractic successful, you just robbed me of everything that I talk about. Because I don't have too many slides on going down, on getting arrested. I mean, what am I supposed to come up with? Wowee! No wonder they have trouble getting members. Here's a little statement that you need to calculate. You are today where your thoughts have brought you. That's why integrity doctors are successful doctors. And that's why there's a lot of decline and a lot of depression as a whole, is because you're going to go wherever your thoughts take you. So what are you thinking? What should the profession do? They need to follow us. They need to listen. Visioneering worked for the profession. It just wasn't the right vision. So it's our responsibility, doctors. It's our responsibility to change the thought process of the profession, to change the vision of the profession, to change the talk of the profession, to change the belief of the profession. It's our responsibility to even, I believe, take over the leadership of the profession, so that the reason state associations are there is to promote chiropractic and to grow chiropractic. And the reason why the colleges are there are to promote chiropractic. And we want to put chiropractic on everything rather than removing it from everything. The truth of the matter is, the only reason you and I are here today is because of chiropractic. It isn't because of all the other stuff. We got to change it. We got to be the leaders. So let's think about this for a minute. Think about this thought just for a second. Imagine, sort of the key word here. Change sides on me. Imagine 8 out of every 10 babies being born in this country getting regular chiropractic care from day one. I want you to imagine that for a minute. 8 out of every 10 babies in America starting with chiropractic care and having it for their whole life. Imagine it, you guys. Would it be awesome or what?
Yeah.
Would there be a difference?
Yes.
Wow, you got to imagine the difference so that you get turned on to chiropractic. I want you leaving here so on fire for chiropractic because you've been on fire for everything except for chiropractic. I want you on fire for what?
Chiropractic.
Right! Because it's chiropractic that'll make the difference. And let me give you a few reasons why. I live in Sarasota, Florida. That means I fly in and out of Sarasota every week. Now, you know what? If you've ever been to our part of the world, here's what you find. I fly in first class, which means I should get to board first. But half the plane gets on before me. You know why? Because they always make this announcement. Everybody needing assistance and help, board first. Well, rats, we have a parade of wheelchairs. Half of the plane can't even walk onto it. And you know why? It's your stinking fault. If you'd have had them since birth, they could walk on. Is that right or wrong? Right. They would have their mobility. They would have their functionality. They would be able to function because they've had chiropractic care. They haven't neglected their structure for their whole stinking life. And then at 80, then they start doing something. A little late, don't you think? But no, you know what you do? You sit around and you let it go and you don't promote chiropractic and you don't grow chiropractic and you don't give a rip about anything about making a nice living. I don't want you to make a nice living. I want you to heal America. I don't care what your income is. I care what the health of the country is. Get people well, for crying out loud. They're crawling today. They're in wheelchairs. I also live on the coast. You ever seen them get out of the water? They can't. There's 3 people pulling and 1 trying to get up. Is that right or is it wrong? And you know why? It's your stinking fault. Now I want you to do this. Imagine 8 out of 10 of them taking care of their structure with chiropractic care from the beginning. It's too late now, but I would be able to get on the plane first. But no, you guys are sitting at home with snow days. Stop it. Heal the land. Heal America. Care about their health. Care about their structure. Realize that chiropractic is the only thing that's going to get them up and out. Is that right or wrong? So are we excited about chiropractic or what? Yeah. You know why? Because you can heal the land and you can do it with your hands. Get your hands out of your pockets. All in favor say aye. There they are. That's a good move. Good move. Oh, man. Imagine your clinic as the largest clinic in town. Would that be good? Just imagine it for a little while. Imagine being the #1 provider. Wow. You've got everybody. Imagine it. Imagine being the first one your community turns to instead of the last resort. Imagine it. Imagine chiropractic being the #1 healthcare provider. Imagine what kind of voice you would have in healthcare then, huh? Imagine the influence that you would have in your community. Imagine the prestige that would be enjoyed as a result of being #1. Can you? Imagine this. Chiropractic dominance. Can you think about it? Whew. Now, before you give me all the arguments as to why it can't be, let me just tell you, let me just stop you. We got to be the leaders. We got to come out of the cave. We've got to decide. We can do this. We can take it. Put some fresh paint on the vision. And I don't want you to misunderstand me. It isn't because thinking alone works. I'm not telling you, you get more new patients, just think them in. Home. No. Don't believe it, not saying it. But I am saying that thoughts are causes. And when you see this dream, it impacts the way you act. It impacts the decisions that you make. It impacts the things that you go for. Because if your vision is a snow day, if you're in a cave, if your vision is it can't be done right now, you won't do anything because it can't be done right now. Your thinking doesn't do it, but your thinking impacts your actions, and your actions is what does it. If you do not believe there's a dream out there, then of course you're not going to reach for it. You're not going to risk for it. You're not going to sacrifice for it because you don't believe it's there. Therefore, you choose to aim for nothing and you successfully hit it. So, first thing we got to do is we got to stop getting by. We got to go for number one, right? Go for dominance. Go for the dream. We're going to live the dream. Second thing we're going to do is we got to stop being, I told you I'm not going to be politically correct anymore, so just get ready. And by the way, you guys, I'll tell you something. Since I'm just, your first reaction is just going to be to get mad at me, but try not to. Just listen for the morning and think about it. Because just like you are with health, I could be right. So just wait and see. Second thing we got to stop just getting by. Second thing we got to do is we got to stop being medical wannabes. You know one reason why we need to stop being medical wannabes? They don't even want to be them. Why do you want to be them? They're not happy about it. I mean, think about this. If being a medical doctor is so envious and great, then why is this true? And by the way, I took all of their facts and all of their sources. I didn't use chiropractors talking about medical doctors. I went straight to medical doctors. In a recent survey of 300 medical doctors ages 50 and older, so young, ages 50 and older, by the physician search firm of Merritt, Hawkins and Association in Irving, Texas. Here's what they found. They found that half of these 300 medical doctors want to retire in the next 1 to 3 years and just do fill-in work for vacationing doctors. They just want out. 10% will seek employment in a non-clinical or non-medical setting. Only, catch this, out of the 300, only 18% of them intend to continue as they are. They're just enjoying practice. 18% are just enjoying practice. You want to be them? Are you sure? Are you sure, by the way, that you want their schedule too? One of our coaches has a good friend who's an orthopedic surgeon, and she asked him what his schedule was. Listen to this schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he sees patients from 8 to 6. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, he does surgeries from 8 to 5. Now, that's 5 days a week for those of you who are counting. Plus, he's on call every third night. Plus, he's on call 2 weekends a month. Sound like the schedule you want? I don't know if you can calculate, but that isn't 4 days a week with 2-hour lunches. Your schedule is amazing. You don't need to be looking in somebody else's yard. You've got an amazing schedule. Are you sure you want theirs? Are you sure you want their reimbursement too, by the way? I do have an MD, a very successful orthopedic surgeon who is an orthopedic surgeon for one of our NFL teams, as a matter of fact. He does very well. He's 64 years old. And we talk quite a bit, and when I listen to him talk, rats, I wish I had a recorder. And I wish I could just video it or record it and let you hear him and see him so that you would stop wanting to be him. Because I'm telling you, the guy's miserable. Listen to this, for instance. You always think, yeah, well, if we had MDs, then we get good reimbursement. They're the ones, they just get all the reimbursement. We don't get nothing. They get everything. They just get money, and people just write checks, and they get it all. You know how much he gets? And man, I mean, he does these intricate surgeries, and he does a lot of them for a lot of good people. You know how much he gets per surgery? Reimbursed. $700. Now, he doesn't get $700 just for the surgery and then gets all this other stuff. He gets $700 total. And I confirmed this with him because I'd have to ask him several times. I said, well, what about the visits before the operation? No, that's in the 700. Well, what about the visits at the hospital? No, that's in the 700. Well, what about the visits afterward? No, that's visits for the next 2 months afterwards. It's $700 total. Now, let me just give you guys a clue in case you're not able to admit it. You would never work that hard for $700. Truth of the matter is, you'd really be griping and complaining as he does. There is no panacea across the river, and if only you could have it. You're already blessed. You're already fortunate. You should already be thanking God for your opportunity. No medical wannabes here. And by the way, you sure you want their pay? This was taken from Mom MD. Many medical doctors are leaving the profession. Did everybody read that? Many medical doctors are leaving the profession, and we haven't even got into government health care yet. Imagine. Citing rising malpractice costs and a lack of respect from their patients. Whoops, did you read that? A lack of what? Respect. Yeah, you guys need to say it. You think you got problems. They're leaving because of lack of what? Respect from their patients. Pressure from powerful HMOs. Pressure? Pressure from HMOs and the public to keep costs to a minimum. It's greatly decreasing the earning potential of solo practitioners. Consequently, they must work longer hours and see more patients to make ends meet. One family practice recently complained that her net take-home pay after all expenses, including malpractice, which is a biggie, in student loans, is approximately $37,000 per year. You sure you want to be it? Now the part you don't hear, one thing that hurts, for instance, their malpractice goes from $100,000 to $200,000 a year. Is that pretty close to what you're paying? Yeah, they got some money, but they're paying malpractice. And by the way, why is their malpractice even up to $200,000 a year, and yours is $2,000? Why is there such a huge difference, everybody?
Risk.
Risk, absolutely right. You do good work. You get a 95% success rate. They get 58%. And you pay a cost for doing it wrong all the time. Truth of the matter is, you don't want to be this. Are you sure you want their results? An average of 195,000 people in the United States, get that number, 195,000 people in the United States died due to potentially preventable in-hospital medical errors. 195,000 a year. Makes headlines if there's, out of the million adjustments, if there's one stroke. 195,000 what? Deaths. This is according to health grades. And this is Medicare data only. That's the shocker. Dr. Samantha Collier of Health Grades, Vice President, said this: it's the equivalent of 390 jumbo jets full of people are dying each year. And in-hospital things. 390 jumbo jets, you guys, I want you to think about this for a minute. 390 jumbo jets. That's more than a jumbo jet a day going down. Now, think about this. If you were hearing that a jumbo jet was going down every day, how many of you would think twice about flying? Yeah. Honestly. You say, well, there's one every day. Maybe we should think twice. 42% of people believe have personally experienced a medical mistake. 180,000 deaths annually from, what's the word underlined? Medication errors. Medication errors. Now I want us to focus on this. 180,000 deaths annually from medication errors. Now just to put this in perspective for you, we all had a great concern about the deaths from the war, which in the Iraq War, there was 4,404 U.S. military deaths. That's over a time period of 8 years, which averages out to 550 a year. Let's look at our concerns for a minute. 180,550. 180,550. From medication. Should we be concerned about medication errors? Yes. Seems like there's a few, don't you think? And we want this. Medication errors are among the most common medical errors, harming at least 1.5 million. Now, the reason why this number is different, 1.5 million is different from 180. 180 is how many people died. 1.5 is just how many people were hurt by it. 1.5 million people harmed every year, causing an extra expense of $3.5 billion a year, not including wages lost, productivity lost, or additional health care costs. Is that amazing, everybody, or what? Remember, you want this. A study of outpatient clinics found that medication-related injuries resulted in roughly $887 million in extra medical care costs on top of that. Now, we got to think about this. They have a 58% satisfaction rate, and you have a 95% success rate. Which one should you envy? We need to wake up and smell our unique coffee, everybody. Why do I say medical wannabes? Why do I say that we got to stop being medical wannabes? Here's one little indication for you. Now let's look at our own survey. In a survey of 300 members of the Alabama State Chiropractic Association, so 300 chiropractors in Alabama. Here are their statements, them answering questions sent out by the state association. Tell us what you think. Here were the questions. Everybody ready for this? If limited use of prescription drugs was allowed, this is the doctor saying, if limited prescription drugs were allowed, I would prescribe them. 73% said yes. What? 3 out of 4 of you would push drugs if only you had permission? What happened to all this Edison future physician stuff? Where did all that go? You mean you didn't believe in it? You mean you think it's drugs that correct subluxation? You think it's drugs that gets the body well? That's what you think? You just don't get to do it? 3 out of 4 of you? Rats! If only we could give them drugs! Good grief, man! Are you not even listening to your own patients? Have none of you ever had a patient come in and say, I've been to the medical doctor, I've tried these drugs, and it didn't work? Has anybody heard a patient like that? What are you thinking? They don't need drugs, they've already had drugs. Do you not realize how easy it is to get drugs today? Wowee, what are you thinking? Patients in Alabama, here's the next question. I'm getting off. Patients in Alabama would benefit from DCs being allowed to prescribe. Did I pass any, Ryan, or did I do all right? No. I'm okay. Patients in Alabama would benefit from DCs being allowed to prescribe a limited number of prescription drugs. 71% believe that patients would benefit from it. Whew. So, what is all this natural crap? You're just telling us this stuff? Do you realize what idiots that you make of us patients because we thought you meant it? We didn't realize that you'd be a drug pusher if only you could. We thought you meant it when you said that drugs mask the problem. And that you don't mask the problem or deaden the problem. Instead, you know what you do? You correct the problem. And you believe that chiropractic corrects the problem. And you believe that subluxation causes the problem. Now, what corrects subluxation? The adjustment or drugs? What?
The adjustment.
Should I have to tell you that?
No.
Wowee! Well, here's the next question asked them. The number of chiropractic patients would increase if DCs could prescribe a limited number of prescription drugs. 78% agree. 78%, that's what I'm saying. Don't get mad at me. Obviously, I'm the Lone Ranger here, but let me help you with something. Since obviously it seems to be an unknown fact. Are you ready? We don't need you to get drugs. We can get drugs without you. Thank you. We don't need to wait for permission. Do you guys not even turn on the TV? You don't notice that 8 out of 10 commercials are drug commercials? Do you not even see it? Drugs are not a problem. Getting drugs are easy. Getting an adjustment's tough. Getting drugs, easy. Our problem isn't, you need to know this. The public isn't, if only there was a place I could go get drugs. But nobody will prescribe drugs. There isn't anybody who can prescribe drugs. Oh, thank God! Now a chiropractor can prescribe drugs. I now have a place to go to get drugs. There's never been one before. Could I help you think this one through? You're in a dream world. Here's another question. I'm in favor of the Alabama State Association proposing legislation to change the scope of practice in Alabama to allow for the limited use of prescription drugs. 70% agree. You know, when I was preparing to do all this stuff, and when I was deciding that we weren't going to take it anymore, and that I was tired of everybody running off on tangents, and I was tired of everybody following these stupid things, and I decided after 25 years I was no longer going to keep quiet, and we're going to ring the stinking bell. Well, guess what? When you have percentages like that, it makes you a little bit nervous. I mean, we're wanting doctors. So I'm going to chase everybody away. Oh, the profession's worth it. Worth the risk. But I will say that I get nervous. So just before I headed out to do this last week, for the first one, 7 things that must stop. Boy, we got this call into the office. We got a call from Dr. Bart Tyrell in Michigan, by the way. Michigan City. Dr. Bart calls, and he said, you know, I just got this thing in the mail. These 7 things that must stop now. His first question was, is Keith really going to talk about this? And Fran said, yeah, I think he is. You know what his reaction was? It's about time. And then he went on to say how he feels like it's prophetic words for the profession that are way, way overdue. Now, let me tell you something neat about this guy. This guy's 84 years old, everybody. Let's get it in perspective. He's 84 years old. He graduated from Palmer in 1949. Come on, jerk your halos off. 1949? He opened practice in 1951. To put it in perspective, he's been practicing longer than I've been alive. That's a long time. In 1953, he was arrested for practicing chiropractic. This guy was arrested for doing what you can do, and you come up with chicken excuses to not even do a screening. And this guy was behind bars. And this guy calls and says, after 60 years of chiropractic, wow, it's about time somebody stands up for chiropractic. Tell him it's way, way overdue. You guys, Dr. Bart was my angel. He was my Clarence. Dear, what's It's a Wonderful Life. That gave me the bell and gave me the call, the message, just when I needed it. Do not be afraid. Because the truth of the matter is, if I can hear that from a hero of chiropractic, I guess I don't really give a rip what a yellow-back chiropractor thinks that doesn't want to uphold the profession, doesn't want to uphold the healing art. If you don't want to support it, fine and dandy, man. Go be a stinking physical therapist somewhere. I don't give a rip. We've got a healing art that needs support, needs defense, needs people who love it, and needs people who will stand up for it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Just in time.
I know. I'm glad I made it alive.
I'm glad you did too. We're glad you're here. It's a nice balmy day out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
By the way, that 84-year-old had just come in from snow blowing 10 inches of snow off his driveway. The 84-year-old. I wonder if that's because he gets regular chiropractic care.
Right?
See, that got my attention. The 84-year-old snow blowing snow off, 10 inches of snow off his driveway, and we're just trying to get people on the plane in a wheelchair. Pretty neat. Well, here's the deal. I'm confident, and you probably already know this, I'm a pretty loud guy. I'm a pretty bold guy. And I'm going to be. Here's what I find in researching the history, and we're going to talk about this a lot this afternoon. D.D. Palmer was bold. B.J. Palmer was bold. And we must not lose what we have been given. It's a gift that must be built upon instead. So we're bringing back the culture of chiropractic. Staff, I'm really excited about this afternoon. Dr. Bob, this is Daniel. Dr. Kaufman, stand up. This guy's awesome here. I love every second I get to be around this guy. I am so thrilled that he has put together an all-afternoon presentation on the revolutionary culture of chiropractic. Staff, this is a must for everybody to know, because you know what? It isn't any good to do something for a living. It isn't any good to do something for a pay per hour. It's something to get to do something that is going to change people's lives. To be a part of a culture. To be a part of something that can really absolutely revolutionize healthcare. And you get to be a part of it. Wait till you hear this stuff. I'm telling you, all you got to do, this guy eats it, drinks it, sleeps it. It's amazing. He knows this stuff. He's quite the guy. You can't help but get excited, even just from his excitement when it comes down to it. All afternoon. Why do you do it? You get to find out why you get to be there in that office, and that it's a privilege. It's a privilege to do chiropractic, isn't it? It's a privilege to be a part of the profession, isn't it? It's a privilege to get to uphold it. You'll get to hear that, and he'll have staff. It's all the staff together, and all the doctors are going to be there with me. I know doctors rats. You got to be there with me, but we got to divide it up. We can't have everybody in the same room. So you come with me, staff. You'll be there. It'll be a good time. You'll really enjoy that. What's the integrity position? Just so that you know, so you can either be mad at us or you can stand up for it. The integrity position is this: we have all the drug pushing in America that we can stand. We don't need any more drug pushers. Secondly, chiropractors are the best doctors that there are in healthcare. The country needs you to be chiropractors. That's our position. The country needs chiropractors. If you sincerely believe, so that if you don't agree with me here, if you sincerely believe that drugs are the way to go, my feeling is man up. Close your office down and send them to an MD where they can get the drugs. Come on, man up. If drugs is what they need, then shut up, close the doors, and send them to an MD. They can get drugs there. If that's the solution, give them the solution. But you can't have it both ways. Integrity joins B.J. Palmer in his self-described mission. I wrote this myself, being in B.J.'s home in Sarasota. He's got several things on the wall that he upheld. This was a letter that I just wrote down his words so that we would have it. in the home where he died. He said this: "I am fighting to protect, defend, and preserve, keeping chiropractic a separate and distinct profession, to keep it from going the way of the osteopaths, taking the path of least resistance, playing to those that work for the fast buck. It isn't a matter of who is right, but what is right." My interpretation of 7 things that must stop now. Fighting for this separate and distinct. Isn't that good? Separate and distinct profession. So, integrity doctors, understand our position. Integrity doctors are not medical wannabes, and we are not drug pushers. Why? Because we're proud of who we are, proud of what we do, and we are proud of how we do it. We believe medical doctors would rather be us. We believe that they envy us. We believe that they want our results. We believe that they want our schedule and our lifestyle and our overhead and our malpractice. We have a 95% satisfaction rate. We don't have the malpractice because what we do works. It heals instead of hurts and kills. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. Are you for it or against it?
For it.
Number 3, we have to stop stupid billing and coding tricks, everybody. You guys, here's the deal. A couple little key elements. You cannot code yourself into prosperity. It's amazing how many practices try to do that. They try to grow their practice through codes. We must stop all gray areas. Now, I know you guys when I say this, and that we must stop the gray coding and the billing tricks and the things that go on, and people run to these seminars like crazy, just trying to find new ways to code and trick and bill. And here's the thing, you guys. Here's the deal. I know that when I say in here, you got to stop all billing and coding tricks, everybody in here would say, right, no, we would never go into gray areas. No, we don't believe in gray areas. We'd never do gray areas and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know. The whole profession, nobody admits to doing gray areas, but you know, I found it's kind of like the internet porn industry. Nobody does that either, but it generates $12 billion annually from nobody. And yet it's more than NBC, CBS, and ABC combined. Well, nobody does gray areas of coding either, but it keeps causing a lot of problems. So I have to ask the question, so why do we cheat? Well, here's one of the answers in everybody's mind. We don't get what we think is fair. We don't think it's fair, the reimbursement, so then we try to find ways to cheat, trick, get more. So we start searching for ways to get it anyway. Running to insurance companies, looking for codes, and here's always the halo word, documentation. If we can only find a way to word it so that we can get something we're not supposed to get. I mean, we got doctors, you realize, because I call the insurance companies, particularly when they were saying, well, they're going to remove the physician the physician name, and everybody gets so upset. So, we do what nobody else does. We call the insurance company. What's the deal? You know what they say? Well, here's the deal, man. You got all kinds of billing and coding tricks in there because of the word physician, and so you got chiropractors who are billing obstetrics, for example. Well, that's kind of a problem. I would call it maybe even a little bit more than gray. How does this goofball stuff happen? Then a lot of times we treat based on coverage. I'm always kind of amazed, you have things like, well, we've got an insurance company that doesn't cover EMS and doesn't cover our therapies, but they do cover ultrasound. So then what happens? All of a sudden, every patient needs ultrasound. And every patient always gets recommended the care that their insurance covers. Well, it's okay. It's okay, Keith, because these insurance companies are rich. And they shouldn't be rich, but they're rich. I know it hacks you off, but let me just say something. I know that the country really enjoys attacking the rich, and I know that the country hates the rich, and I get the message. There couldn't be anything worse than prosperity and success and people able to pay for other people getting jobs. I understand that. But even though we are told to hate the rich, it's a really cruddy thing to teach your kids. Son, it's okay to rob a bank as long as you rob one that has good money. You know, just don't rob from a bank that's just getting by. Steal from rich people, not from poor people. That's one of the 10 Commandments, isn't it? Do not steal from the rich or the poor. You know what this commandment is, don't you? It's do not steal what? Period. You don't steal. It's not right to what? Steal. It's not right to steal from an insurance company even though they have money. It's still wrong. You can't justify wrong actions because people can afford it. We can break into these people's house. We can steal their jewelry because they, you know, it's insured. Or they can afford it. No, that's not the principle. The principle is you don't break into somebody's house and steal. Fancy coding, trick coding does nothing but this: increase your write-offs, increase your risk of an audit, increase of losing your integrity, and what it has done for us, increase our risk of losing what insurance benefits we still have left. Here's another little message for you, everybody, just to make sure you understand our position. Don't mess with Medicare. And by when I say don't mess with it, I'm not talking about not treating Medicare patients. I'm saying don't try to trick them. Don't try to cheat them. No gray. Stop running to Medicare seminars not put on by Medicare. Everybody underline that one. Stop running to Medicare seminars that aren't put on by Medicare. You guys, you're handed so many goofball, stupid messages. Let me just help you with something. Medicare can't do something under the table. They don't work in a dimly lit garage in Anwar, Alaska, where nobody can find them or hear them. And they don't just sit there in that garage and create rules that they won't tell you about so that they can arrest you later. It's a falsehood created by people who have to tell you that so that you want to come to their seminars. But here's the deal. The truth is, they have to tell you about it. So you understand this. They don't work in a dimly lit garage. And Kathy Mills Chang isn't the only one then who flies over Alaska with an infrared camera and discovers the tricks that nobody else would have ever known, but she finds them and she gets them, and now she's going to tell you. It's baloney. Sorry. They can't do it underhanded. They can't do anything fast, and they hardly ever change. And everything they do is slow. There are no 3-day windows, and there is no looming deadline. Let me tell you something. The truth is, you guys, if you ever step back and look at Medicare, it couldn't be a slower organization. By the way, how many years did it take them? How many years ago was it when they said you were going to be required to do electronic billing? How many years ago was that? I think it was before we even had television. I mean, it was way back there. Years and years and years. Wasn't it, Rick? I mean, honestly, you've been in this a long time. How long have you been practicing? 40 years? Or 24. I was close. Okay, so 24 years. I mean, do you ever remember a time when they weren't required? And by the way, you know, with all these changes, they passed HIPAA in 1996. Do you guys remember that? 1996, they passed HIPAA, which the purpose of HIPAA was to put everybody on one one system, one record system, so that all patients would be on the same record system. So then they were worried about patient confidentiality, so they required you to do the patient confidentiality part in the computers in your office, and then they would do the putting everybody on one system. That was 15 years ago. How close are they to doing their part? They hadn't even started. So now this year they passed another one to put everybody on the record system. How long do you think it'll take? Come on, pay attention. One of my favorite quotes, the only thing we learn from history is that we don't learn from history. 15 years they haven't been able to do it. And you think there's a 3-day window? Looming deadline? Let me tell you something. You guys. Let's see how fast Medicare changes. Does Medicare pay for exams? Have they ever? Do they pay for x-rays? Have they ever? Do they pay for therapies? Have they ever? Well, I'm seeing a lot of change here, aren't you? Do they pay for maintenance visits? Have they ever? Rats, what do they pay for? The adjustment. We're talking major changes here. Major. They pay for the adjustment. How many codes are there for the adjustment? 3. How many day seminars will it take you to memorize those? Just asking. Rats, man. So, I'll just tell you this part so you can relax. If Medicare changes, number one, they'll tell you. They have to tell you. They're required to tell you. And rats, if they don't, we'll tell you. But we'll be able to get it in an email. Won't take 7 days or nothing. With a $3.95 fee on it. Just be an email. And you'll have plenty of time. All in favor, say aye. Number 4, we have to stop stupid recommendations of care. Now, here's the deal, you guys. This is more tangents, more chiropractic tangents. Tangents that just get to doing things. We have to stop stupid recommendations of care. Let's talk about what some of those are. Pain relief recommendations. Students, I'll come back at you again. Let me help you with one. A pain relief recommendation of care is a stupid recommendation of care. It's not right for the patient. Don't do that. I know that you're told, at least some of you have been, you're told, well, 2, 3, 4 visits. The reason I know is because I go to the schools and I don't talk like that. And then the professors get mad and then they come at me and here's what they say. They say, all right, Keith, look, if you're going to say that, show me the clinical proof. Show me the documentation and clinical proof that they need that many visits. Well, guess what? So far, I've won every time. You say, really, Keith, what documentation did you show them? No, let me tell you what I did. Look, you're the teacher. You're the one teaching. It's your responsibility. You show me the documentation that you can take somebody who can barely get out of the car and you can get them into a stabilized condition in 2 visits, and you can do it the majority, the 80% of the time. You show me the clinical proof that it can be done. And guess what? I'm still waiting for the documentation. Kind of like Glenn Beck with the red phone. It hasn't rung yet. Truth of the matter is, it can't be done, and it's a stupid recommendation of care. When a patient comes to you, they want to be brought into a stabilized condition, and we should put them there. And naturally, when you see the 5-year-old that is in no pain at all, that could be true. But when a 95-year-old has been hit by a train and can't walk, 2 visits probably isn't going to be right. Are we okay here? So it's a stupid recommendation of care. So doctor, understand this. Don't diagnose pocketbooks. Don't x-ray pocketbooks. Here's another one. Don't diagnose insurance. And don't recommend according to insurance. If I had my preference, you would never know what it is. You shouldn't know anything about it, because they're not coming to you for an interpretation of their insurance. I'll ask doctors, how come this patient left? Well, they came and they went through all this, and then, then after seeing the insurance, it only covers this or it only covers that. Let me tell you something. Everybody knows their insurance already. It's no surprise. And here's another important part. A junior hire can interpret insurance. You have a doctor's degree. We're kind of expecting more than an insurance interpretation. We're expecting your expertise. So you know what I want you, well, so we'll talk about what our position is. But it's a stupid recommendation of care to only recommend pain relief. Here's another stupid recommendation of care. Unlimited visits. Unlimited visits. Here's what unlimited visits says. It says no skills and no effect. Now let me just say about unlimited visits, here's why it was done. You were taught this, and I should say that for the rest of the afternoon even, the reason all this stuff has really come about is because you're just doing what you've been told. It's been the voices of leadership, and you've been led to do this. That's why somebody has to stand up and say something a little different. A lot of doctors are doing this only because they've been led to do this and told to do this, and it's taught by people who were just looking for a way to get big money up front. They put the word wellness on it because wellness is a great halo that allows them to do or say anything. And the truth is, if they did recommend a legitimate number of visits, they could never get $5,000 up front. So you got to say something that makes it financially reasonable and able to go to, quote, all cash. Here's what it really says. It says no skills. By no skills, I mean this. You don't even need to do an exam. Why? We already know what we're going to recommend. You don't need to know the condition. You don't even need to have them fill out paperwork. You know what you're going to recommend. Everybody gets the same recommendation, whether they're 9-year-olds or 90. They don't need a report of findings. They don't even need a report. Why? Well, the recommendation is the same. The message is the same. Come in whenever you feel like it. Anybody could do that. It's just not the proper recommendation of care to make the profession look good. Here's the other reason why. It's saying that a chiropractic adjustment has no effect on the body. Let's have one of the other doctors give this kind of recommendation. Let's say that they go to an MD and the MD says, look, if you'll write me a check for this amount of money, I'll give you unlimited drugs. What would you think of that? Come on, what would you think of that? You'd think it lacks a little bit of credibility, wouldn't you? Yep. You'd think that they're kind of going for a check, wouldn't you? And the truth of the matter is, it's also saying this. You wouldn't want an MD to say that about drugs because drugs have an effect on the body. So the only thing that they should say unlimited to, it would be a placebo. A placebo, at least, has no impact on the body, so go ahead and take all you want because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't have anything. It has no effect. But man, there's very few things that have no effect on the body. I mean, they couldn't even say unlimited sugar because there's going to be an effect, isn't there, on the body? What would you think if you went to an oncologist and they said, if you'll write me this check, I'll give you unlimited chemo? Wouldn't you think that'd be kind of a dumb recommendation? Because you know that chemo has an effect on the body. Now, what are you telling the patient when you can have unlimited adjustments? You're saying that the adjustment doesn't have any effect on the body, so it doesn't matter. Come in as often as you want because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't do anything. So just go ahead and come in. At least you're getting them cheap. If you come in a whole bunch of times, it only figures out to be this much. Rather than, wait a minute, how many adjustments do they need? And does the adjustment have an impact on the body? Now I'm asking you, does an adjustment have an impact on the body? Does it matter? Then maybe it requires expertise. Maybe it requires a doctor's expertise of knowing how many, of knowing when, of knowing how. of not recommending according to a paycheck, but instead of recommending according to integrity of what that patient needs, because that's why they came in to see you, is desiring your expertise and your skills and your ability to heal the land. I'm sorry, I believe in these things because I've seen them. I've experienced the impact of the adjustment, and I know it has an effect. And I don't like anybody taken away from it. And I don't like anybody talking or acting like it has no effect. And it does not matter. It does matter. It matters how it's administered. It matters when it's administered. It matters by whom it's administered. I only want a chiropractor doing it. Am I right? It's the way it is. Another long timer here. He's old. He's really old.
I can't say that, though.
You can't, but I can. Yeah, Bob's old. He's old. But this is right, isn't it, Bob? And we've seen a lot of tangents in this profession, haven't we? A lot of goofball stuff. It's time to stop it. It's time to stand up. It's time to have some guts. It's time for somebody who doesn't want to be politically correct and somebody who just wants to say, we've got a great profession and we're going to defend it, we're going to perfect it, and we're going to uphold it. Is that right, Tracy? It's the way. Somebody's got to do it. Integrity has to become a leadership voice. The integrity doctors have to become a leadership movement and protect and defend and save this great profession. It does have an effect. So here's our position in case you don't know. What is the integrity position on recommendations of care? Recommend what the patient needs. Not one visit more and not one visit less. Now I'm going to tell you this for those of you who aren't members of integrity. The biggest problem integrity doctors have is usually recommending too little instead of too much. But both are wrong. It's not right to recommend too little. It's not right to recommend pain relief only. You need to recommend what that patient needs for their health and wellness. Not one visit more, not one visit less. And then we need to provide those services. Period. Don't tell me what insurance says. Don't tell me what colleges say. Tell me what's right. Tell me what's ethical. And then that's it. And here's what the result is. The result is that we can get 80% of the population that way. And you know why? Because it's ethical. It's honest. It's right. Now, can you go these other directions and get other people to follow it? Yes, you can. You can get 8% of the population to walk into a hole. You can get them to do anything. I don't know, maybe you can even get them to pay 66% taxes. I'm not real sure. But the truth is, if you want the majority, you got to be honest. You got to be ethical. You got to be true. You got to be right. All in favor say aye. Aye. So our position is going to be this. We want the profession to not only look good, we want them to be good. So we want those billing and those coding things to be honest and right. And we want the recommendation to be honest and right. And then we can sleep every night. How about that? Never looking over our shoulder, never having to wonder. We can sit in front of that patient and give them this recommendation because we know it's right and we know it's honest. That will always work. It'll always be true. That's the position. Now here's what we're going to do here because we believe in quality. Do we have? CA's only. All right. I love to recognize people who want to be great and who want to be the best and who always want to do above and beyond the call of duty. And we have some staff people here who have worked very hard to receive the integrity management certification. And they've had to work hard for this. And so I'd like to, at this time, have you recognize them and also appreciate them for what they have done. When I call your name, if you would come up here, please. Katie Lincoln. Is Katie here? Betsy Prince. Trish Cranmer. Jessica Litsky. Wow, hey, this is great.